Hello, this is Nick Cap, and I will be recording the lecture on the hormones. And so here it is, right here, of what we are going to be doing. Just want to look at it once. And basically, we're looking at chapter number 25, hormones. Hormones basically are chemicals that can affect various sites within the bodies. Almost all plants and animals produce hormones, and they're made by a type of tissue that we call an endocrine gland. Endo means within. This is part of the endocrine system, which consists of all hormone-secreting cells, and it's the main body, the body's main system for internal chemical regulation. That is, the body will be controlling kind of what it does. And so the hormonal control, along with nervous control, and they are connected together, is mainly responsible for this. So I will be trying to go in 10 minutes, go through this whole system for you. So it's basically just an introduction. Again, the endocrine cells secrete hormones into the bloodstream, and they can affect many cells all at once. But what's really kind of great about them is they can only affect the target cells that have specific receptors for that hormones. And so, again, here we have the adrenal glands, which are located right on top of the kidney in this box in here. Those adrenal glands will produce a hormone that goes in the circulatory system, and that circulatory system can only affect those specific cells which have a target protein on those. And so we can see that here. I'm going to get a pointer. All right, so here's my laser pointer on there. There are basically two general mechanisms by which the hormones trigger changes inside the cells. And this one here shows a water-soluble hormone that we have on there, and that it attaches to a protein receptor, which would then send this signal to the inside of the cell. So the original hormone itself does not go into the cell, but the signal does get into the cell, and eventually could go into the nucleus and affect materials there. Lipid-soluble hormones, on the other hand, can actually diffuse through the plasma membrane layer, and they react with the receptor that's on the inside of a cell, and then they can have an effect on transcription, translation, and a whole bunch of different other things. We are going to be covering mainly the human endocrine system, yeah, so that's about it. And so again, if we look at human beings, we have a number of endocrine tissue, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, which are located in the brain, the thyroid gland and neck, the parathyroid glands in the thyroid, the adrenal glands on top of the kidney, and then again the pancreas, and then our reproductive glands that we have in here as well. Again, things like human growth hormone can have a different effect depending on kind of where it is. If you don't get enough human growth hormone, then you would get an individual of kind of a shorter stature like this. This individual has a normal-sized, basically, trunk, and his arms are greatly reduced in size. Again, an overexpression of growth hormone as a child will result in gigantism. An overexpression of growth hormone as an adult can affect the size of the nose and ears and jaw, and basically substances are still going. For this particular example, we're basically just going to look at kind of one of these types of tissues or cells, which is basically called the pancreas, and we're going to be looking at insulin, which reduces our blood sugar level, and glucagon, which increases our blood sugar level. And so typically what we would see is a situation like this here. And so what we see is when your glucose levels rise, and so that would be the case of you ate a bunch of sugar, the glucose levels rise, it causes the pancreas to release insulin into the blood. The insulin causes the body cells to take up the glucose. It also causes the livers to take up glucose and store it as glycogen. The blood glucose levels falls to the set point of the stimulus for insulin, and then this no longer happens. Now, the opposite would happen if you have a decline in blood glucose levels. So again, you haven't eaten for a while, you're working out, and you're using your blood glucose levels. What happens is that the pancreas releases a hormone called glucagon into the blood. This glucagon causes the liver to break down glycogen, and release glucose into the blood, and that again will go into the blood. And so ideally what you have happening is that when you have too much sugar in the blood, the insulin is causing that sugar to be taken back up. When you don't have enough sugar in the blood is releasing that sugar. Now again, if we were to eat relatively small meals and stuff like that, we can physically control the amount of glucose in our system by the meals that we eat, but it's pretty hard to do. A disease that we have that a lot of people see, diabetes mellitus, is a hormone disease in which the body cells are unable to absorb glucose from the blood because, again, there's not enough insulin or the cells don't respond to insulin. Again, diabetes is treated, is a disease that is treated. Basically, we think about 4 to 70%, 7% of our population does have diabetes, and so it's a very serious thing. But again, biotechnology has jumped up to this or stepped up to it because almost all the insulin that is produced is genetically engineered insulin. Okay, thank you very much.